Hi, and welcome to this interview skills tutorial. Today we're going to focus on how to close the interview or how to end the interview. It's one of the most awkward times, particularly because you've spent so much time in the preparation, you've answered all the questions, you're at the very end, and one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't ask questions and they don't really get to the bottom of the application process. They don't actually understand what's next. They want to try and get out of there as quickly as possible. It's over, let's go. But some really important things to remember. So number one, you ask you questions. So basically, at the end of the interview, the interviewer will always ask, "Have you got any questions for us?" And obviously, you go through, maybe asking some things that you want to find out some clarity on some certain positions. And after you've finished asking those questions, then step two is the summary. The summary is just really about reinstating your commitment and interest in the job. So, for example, I'd really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. I appreciate you're busy, but I'm really interested in this position. And from the research that I've carried out, I'd really like to be a part of the team. What I would like to understand is, with the questions that I've answered today, are there any questions that you need clarity on? Are there any reservations that you have about employing me? Have I answered all your questions satisfactorily? And what you're looking for with those questions, and you can answer one, or you can use all three, or you can use a combination. But really what we're looking for here is to clean up any doubts, alleviate any fears in the employer's mind. And what's really kind of good about this process is that you're taking the lead. You're taking responsibility to find out and clean up. I say this is why it's called the clarity stage, is clean up any doubts or any fears. The next step then is really going into the closing stage. And what the closing stage is about finding out what the next steps are. So for example, you might use it as an open question. So how do we progress to the next stage? So you've cleaned up all the fears. They've answered the questions. There's no fears, there's no problems. We're happy with everything. The next question is, well, how do we progress to the next stage? Can I ask when you'll be making a decision? And again, what you're doing here is that you're preparing in your mind your own expectations, because there's nothing worse than leaving an interview and not knowing what the process is. And this is one of the biggest mistakes people make, is they walk away unsure of what the next steps are. So make sure that that doesn't happen to you. So two questions that I always use here is, how do we progress this to the next stage? It's kind of an assumptive close. It's assuming that you've got the job, and that it's giving an open question so they can respond back. Whenever you ask a question, always keep your mouth shut and let them answer as well. So really important. Don't try and answer for them. I say, can I ask when you be making a decision? Just cleans up, because 9 times out of 10, they've got to see other people during the day or during the week. And again, 99 times out of 100 even, probably won't get a decision on the spot. But what's important is that you do show that your commitment to the job in trying to close, in trying to find a decision. And as I say, this just prepares your expectations and theirs. So for example, if they say, well, we'll be making the decision next Tuesday, the 23rd of April, you know exactly where you stand. You know exactly that they'll be contacting you. So that's really, really important. So just to summarize that section, I would always use, how do we progress to the next stage? Can I ask when you'll be making a decision? And they're really the key things that you need to close and need to understand. The final tip as well is to always continue your search. You never know what job opportunities are about to open up. Too many times candidates sit back pinning all their hopes on the one job that they've applied for and become very despondent if that job doesn't come off, and they lose momentum. But by keeping your momentum during the decision-making process, you're giving yourself more opportunities. At times, everybody fails. I've failed with job interviews. There's not many people that I don't know that have failed at some point in their lives. So it does happen, but make sure that you can keep your momentum going, because obviously there's a greater chance of success. And on that note, good luck, follow the tips, and make sure that you come away from the interview understanding what the process is.